So welcome everyone. My name is Ken Smith. I am the founder and chairman of Climate Resilience Offsets. And what we're going to do today is run you through a quick background in terms of who we are and how we got here, and then we'll end with how we can work together. For anybody who needs to drop off early, we will be recording this session. We are recording this session right now. And here's a quick executive summary for you. First off, let me state, we support carbon offsets. We're not saying carbon offsets are bad. Some of them have greater efficacy than others, but the challenge with carbon offsets right now that we see is they're not projected to have an impact until 2030 or 2050. Today, CO2 levels are continuing to rise. That is fueling more frequent and severe storms, costing communities significant amounts of money. And so we have invented a new type of offset that is a 501c3 tax-deductible financial offset for streamlining the flow of private capital to offset the cost of climate change to communities around the world. Let me dive a little bit deeper here. So this is the unfortunate reality. Carbon offsets were introduced in 1989, and we, thanks to them, have more solar, more wind, more renewable energy, more geothermal, more storage, et cetera, capacity than we've ever had in the world. And yet CO2 levels continue to rise. And so the question is, why is that happening? Well, despite those billions of dollars of carbon credits to wind farms, solar farms, sequestration, et cetera, until these 10 companies reduce their emissions, then all the spending combined on carbon credits will not have the desired effect of reducing and bending that carbon curve. This is not the discussion for today, but this is the reality that we face. And I know a lot of people are working hard on this, but this is where we are. We also know that billion-dollar weather events are now normal. Anybody who lives in Florida, Texas, anywhere along the East Coast, you see this on a regular basis. We just saw another event. It wasn't even a named storm. It was just a tropical storm that hit the Carolinas and has caused a tremendous amount of damage. In 2024, as of August, we've already seen 19 severe weather events that caused over $1 billion in damage, and combined, those have cost the United States a total of $37 billion. Now, these are US numbers, but we know that the numbers are the same across the world. What communities are doing is they're going into the bond market, they're leveraging their ability to borrow against their ability to raise tax dollars from residents and small businesses. But the challenge is, as Senator Sheldon Whitehouse stated, climate change is threatening the municipal bond market. You simply have an oversupply of both municipal bonds and green bonds, and there is growing concern as to whether or not these communities can service that debt. Many of them are already stretched in terms of their legal ability to issue a bond, what percent of their net residential property value they can borrow against. And so when new storms come, and then new storms come, and then new storms come, these communities are going to continue to be challenged from a financial standpoint. We know that resilience spending saves money. There was great simulation done by the US Chamber of Commerce. They calculated that had they invested theoretically $10.8 billion in this project and that project and the other project to protect the city of Miami from a Cat 4 direct hit, they would have saved 184,000 jobs. And when you think about recovery, you're talking about cash flow, 26 billion of production and 17 billion of income. So we know that resilience is a good investment. So we created a new thing called a climate resilience offset. As I mentioned earlier, we are a 501c3 tax-deductible financial offset that streamlines the flow of private capital, corporate philanthropy, and consumer charitable giving using innovative technologies and fundraising strategies to offset the cost of severe weather on communities today. We deliver immediate impact, measurable results, and lasting benefits. We meet all key stakeholder requirements, from CEOs to customers to employees who are looking to their companies and want them to align themselves with some form of climate action. Excuse me. We also meet 11 of the UN's SDGs. So if anybody out there is doing SDG reporting, we meet 11 of their requirements. Not every project meets every one of the 11. Some of them will only meet one or two, maybe three or four, but we do meet all of these 11 one way or the other, depending on the project. And we do it very quickly, within 12 to 24 months. Again, we're not talking 2030, 2050. We're talking, we can see the event horizon of impact within 12 to 24 months. We do not offset carbon. So if you have a net zero requirement, we do not impact that. That is not what we do. Basically, what we're doing is we're raising money through corporate partnerships that go to what we call our general fund. And the best way I can explain that is to give you an example. I was just speaking just yesterday with the CEO of a cloud host company. Actually, they're more in the AI business. For anybody who knows that industry, you know, the computer servers that run the cloud and especially AI require a tremendous amount of electricity. You might not know that Microsoft is one of the top 3 users of electricity in the country. And so what we're doing is working with this company to reach out to their clients in a proactive and very positive way and say, hey, in order to run your business in the cloud, you are contributing to CO2. How about adding to your bill just the same way that we used to add a carbon offset to an airline ticket? How about adding a $50, $100, $500 donation on a monthly basis to climate resilience offsets to offset the impact of the CO2 emissions from your cloud host? We're talking to tourist companies, airlines, hotels, office rental organizations, basically any type of company that has any product or service where what you do impacts climate, and that's just about every single company. We want to work with you to raise funds through your customer base, voluntary, very proactive, very positive, because the reality is that for most companies, climate impact is occurring in communities where your customers live and work. And to mention, to go back to what I said earlier, we know that a significant number of customers are looking to brands to align with some sort of a climate initiative. Now, we also partner with local projects, and I'm going to dive deep into the example of Newport Resilience, but this is just an example of what we're working on. So this is an aerial view of Newport Resilience. This is the NOAA flood map, and this is modeling a 5-foot storm surge. So in 2023, there were 2 storms that caused a significant amount of damage to Easton's Beach, which is the beach that protects Easton's Pond, which is the freshwater supply for most of the city of Newport and its next door neighbor, the town of Middletown. As a result of that, the city council authorized a $98 million bond. 50 million of it is for climate. And as you see, 2 big line items, Easton's Beach and Easton's Pond. If you look here in this area right above the bottom arrow, where it's light blue, that's actually the beach. And with a 5.4 storm surge, we know the beach is going to get inundated and both ponds are going to get inundated. So they need some immediate work right here, right now, but it's going to cost a lot of money. So how can we have an impact? Newport sees about 4 million tourists a year. If we can get 10% of those tourists to make a one-time donation of $25, that's it. That's less than the tip on an average dinner out in downtown Newport. We can raise $10 million a year for the city of Newport for resilience. And as I mentioned, we're all about the here and now. This is an aerial of a storm from June 2024. It wasn't even a major event here. It was a major event 1,000 miles off in the Atlantic, but the waves came crashing in. And if you see this black line right here, that's actually the seawall. The beach is underneath all of that water right there. All this is flooding along the parking lot here. All this is flooding along here. So we can also, through our general fund, where we're working with corporate partnerships, we can augment the spending on something like an Easton's Pond in the event of an emergency. So if we have millions of dollars sitting on the sidelines, we can welcome Jonathan. We can add additional money to Newport Resilience through our general fund, and we can do that for any one of our projects. So Welcome, Jonathan. This is really good timing. This project is not just me. We've got a team of experts. We've got high-tech startup folks. As I mentioned, we are actually deploying Silicon Valley techniques and technologies to reduce our capital expenditures and marketing expenses, and make the projects more capital efficient. We have political experts. We have insurance experts. Jonathan, who just joined us, is on our strategic advisory board. He's from the Department of Energy. He's an expert in spending very large dollars. So he's advising our investment committee. George is from Accenture. So we've got a really great team, and we are growing very rapidly. Question is, how can we work together? Well, number one, I wouldn't be a good nonprofit CEO if I didn't ask for a donation. So go to the website and please make a donation, however small. The second way is, if you are working in green bonds or municipal bonds, as I stated earlier, as Sheldon Whitehouse said, climate change is threatening that marketplace. What we would look to you to do would be offer a voluntary climate resilience offset at the time that you're selling the bond. Do your sale, make your deal, etc., but then offer this as a post-sale added benefit tax deduction, where the money would go to the very same community where you invested the bond in, and that will help that community improve their balance sheet and be able to service that debt. A second way is, if you're a company, if you're a SaaS company, if you're a travel agency, if you're whatever type of company and you contribute to climate offsets, we'd love to find a way to work with you. As I mentioned earlier, customers are making buy decisions based on brand alignment with climate initiatives. And so this may actually be a boost for your sales by pairing with us. And we've already got about 10 companies who we are talking with about partnering with us to offer a voluntary climate resilience offsets through their billing system, so we can get regular recurring donations, which is huge in terms of our ability to really impact these communities. The fourth way is, if you know of a project, come to our website, go to climateresilienceoffsets.org, click contact, and then just select the radio button. We're looking for funding. Tell us more about your project. We need to see what the immediate impact is. What are the measurable results? It could be economic impact, it could be tourism dollars, whatever it is, but we want to be able to show back to our investors that the places that we are investing in are delivering some sort of measurable economic benefit. So just go ahead and fill out that form, and that'll go over to our investment committee. And then lastly, if you have any questions, suggestions, thoughts, ideas, we are a relatively new concept, and so we're wide open to all suggestions. That is my email right there, ksmith@climateresilienceoffsets.org, and I would love to hear from you. So in summary, this is a new form of climate offset that works today. We offer a 501c3 tax deduction. We meet all stakeholder demands, and we deliver positive local and national PR. The project that we invest in deliver immediate impact, measurable results, and lasting benefits, and we impact 11 out of the UN's 17 SDGs. With that, I'll end, and I'll open up the panel for questions. Have I answered all of your questions?
So I have a question.
Yes.
So I live near Fort Myers that you referenced, and obviously we've had big issues and actually looking at a storm coming this way now. So can you explain to me a little bit about how you would put this into practice there, hypothetically, so I understand the process?
Sure. So a couple of different ways. First off, the city of Fort Myers could come to us and say, we have these various different projects. They need to be shovel ready. They have EPA approval. They have, met city council or whatever your government structure is, authorization, et cetera. You're basically ready to turn the key on the bulldozer and get going. We will evaluate that project. Does it meet our 3 key criteria as listed right there? Immediate impact, measurable results, and lasting benefits. If it does, we will then go to our investment committee, make a final decision, go back to the city or town and say, okay, here is a donation to that project. It could be an individual project. It could be a set of projects. we will even donate money to offset a bond. If you've already initiated a bond and you're looking at debt service for that bond, but you might be stretching your taxing ability and your local residents have been taxed enough, we can be used to do that. One of the points on that is we can be additive. So it doesn't have to be one project, climate resilience offsets. If you have a project that is half funded and you're looking to cap it off, we can do that too. If you've already got the first million from the bond and you need a second million because of a second storm or what have you, we can add the money in there. So we can be additive in that way. Another way that we're planning on working, and we haven't started this yet, is, Melissa, I'm sure you're familiar with the My Safe Florida Home program through the state of Florida. For anybody who don't know, it's a fantastic program funded through the legislature. If you live within, I believe it's 5 miles of the coast, you can apply to have a licensed climate resilience auditor come and audit your home. And then if you are approved, for every, I believe it's every $2 you put in, the state will put in $1 towards your, excuse me, it's the other way around. For every $1 you put in, the state will put in $2 for storm shutters, improving your roof, or whatever it may be. That is a type of program that we're actually going to look to partner with, where we will come directly to My Safe Florida Homes and the Florida State Legislature, and we will provide funding for that because, as I mentioned earlier, we try to be as capital efficient as we can, and Jonathan's one of the folks who keeps us honest about that. And so we're not going to go build that community network. We're not going to go do the local advertising and marketing and connecting and making sure that everything's done right. My Safe Florida Home in the state of Florida has already done that. So it's more like a block grant, if you will, the old style block grants, the way the federal government used to do. We would rather fund an existing up and running, solid, proven program, partnering with that local community. So there's the two different ways that we can engage.
I see. And then the money that you donate back, so to speak, to a project comes from fundraising?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
It comes from a couple of different ways. So let's say Fort Myers. You do still get some tourists. I don't know
Sure.
what the tourism situation is right now, but that's just one example. So we'll work with the city or town to come up with a program to help raise money from non-residents and non-businesses, similar to the way that we do in the city of Newport. If we can get a small portion of those tourists to make a very small donation, it can add up to a significant amount of money, and then we'll just redirect that money right back to that community. The other one of the benefits of working with us is that general fund that I talked about. So let's say we raise $1 million through Newport Resilience and we raise $1 million through the general fund. We could use that general fund $1 million to augment the spending in Newport or Fort Myers or wherever the other place may be. The general fund is real scale. That is going to be a global, integrated, with multiple companies, fundraising significant dollars. And so that's really the primary benefit of working with us, is if we have a community that we're already working with on proven projects and proven technologies, et cetera, we can bring to bear the money from that general fund.
Okay, I understand. I was just trying to figure out how it all came together. So
think of us like a block grant, and we do rely heavily on community partners and community sponsors who know the area, have the expertise. You know, we'll do background checks. We want to make sure that we don't get scammed either. But we do rely heavily on our community partners. So, for example, it has come up with some of our partners in California. What happens in the event of an emergency? If we've been raising money in California for a California project, and then something happens, what can we do? We're not going to let our powder sit dry while California is burning or what have you, whatever the emergency may be. So we will actually release funds, but we'll do it through FEMA. We'll do it through the Red Cross. We'll do it through some known, proven organization. We're not just going to hand it out to somebody on the street.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I was just curious. I am actually going to be starting on a project that is environmental based in Naples, and it certainly has to do with climate, but more on the environmental side.
Sure. Well, you've got my email. Why don't we follow up later? We'll have a one-on-one session. I can learn more about your project and we can see whether or not it fits with our model. Terrific. Hey, Jonathan, nice to see you again.
Good to see you as well, Ken. How you been?
Good, good. You want to throw anything in? By the way, we are recording this session. We're going to throw it up on the podcast site a little bit later.
No, just happy to be here. As I think as Ken mentioned, I'd like to take a look at some of these projects as well and get an understanding of what these cities partnerships are doing and how to think about, I think, climate resilience in a broad stroke. I also work with a lot of carbon removal companies, so very familiar with the offset market and some of the challenges around it. So it's been nice to partner with Ken and be able to help him work through some things. So I'm happy to hop on a call with you guys if needed as well. I do have to jump, but I wanted to at least come in and say hi.
That's quite all right. We're just about at our time anyway. So unless there's any further questions, I'm going to close this down. And I'm going to, as I mentioned, when the link for the recording is up, I'll let everybody know. We'll put it up on YouTube through our podcast channel. So thanks, everybody, for joining. Thank you for your questions and stay safe.
Thanks, guys.